Yes. Yeah. Um, in the developer community, it is common to see new frameworks and tools appear every day, right? Some of them offer different approach to solving scenarios that are currently being solved with other tools. Others bring a new concept or idea, proposing different way to face the projects. So as the chef or as a chef has types of knives to cut through different foods, developers have many available frameworks and libraries that are good to fit for different use cases. So yeah, again, I'm Devlin Duldulao, from originally from Philippines, now working in Norway. I'm a Microsoft MVP and written some books. One about Vue.js, that was my first, and about React TypeScript. And last book that I wrote, co-written, is about Angular with some backends also. So yeah, Remix, and I'm here to talk about Remix, a web framework. So web framework, it's like it's front end with back end. So this is a web framework to create JavaScript projects using server-side rendering. So we'll get through its main features and concepts and see the similarities and differences with another popular JavaScript framework named, let's say, Next.js. So first in the list is progressive enhancement for everyone to access the basic content and functionality of your web app in any browser or internet connection, but also gives a better version of the app if your users are using advanced browser or better bandwidth in the internet connection. So this is progressive enhancement. So things will work if users interact with a functionality, for example, a link. Even JavaScript is not yet fully downloaded, so it will be like switching to MPA or multi-page application from SPA automatically, if it has to. So this progressive enhancement gives us basic user experience and cross compatibility across browsers to ensure stability. So that's the main goal of this progressive enhancement, the stability. So in short, you have a faster web app and accessibility friendly web app out of the box. And another idea here is that JavaScript should not be enabled or enable user experience, but should enhance user experience. So that's one. Second would be routes. So like other frameworks, Remix allows developers to manage the different routes of their web projects using JavaScript or TypeScript, TypeScript files that contain handler functions. So file-based routing system out of the box also. So no setting up of routing like in SPAs. And React Router, since the creator of React Router is also the creators of this web framework. So Remix routes work using the partial routing feature provided by React Router. With this approach in mind, we can highlight the following benefits. Like for example, Remix gives you the possibility of managing nested pages and components. We can create a file. I'm not sure if this is gonna work. It always gets me, but anyways, yeah, we can create file to handle certain route, and at the same level in the file system, a folder with the same name. Looks like this. You have parent 1, parent 2, parent 1, parent 2. Yes, yes, I think I can see my mouse there. Okay, that's it. You have nested files, and then all the files that we create inside that folder will be nested components of the parent root, and then instead of of different pages. Another one would be error handling. So the nested components itself bring also a benefit. If an error occurs while rendering a certain component, it doesn't affect the other nested parts of the page. Looks like this. So there's an error, and the code, this is counterpart of it, the code itself. So we can encapsulate the error just in the section where it happened, instead of getting a general page error. So this is being specific in terms of error. And routes error boundaries. So another example would be like this. You have this function invoice route. Then you have an error boundary. Oh snap, there's a problem loading this invoice. So you can be very specific. This is a sample code. In the UI, it will be like this. If an error is thrown, client or server side, users see the boundary instead of the default component. So as you can see here, yeah. So another one, so Remix focuses on web standards. So this is something that they're promoting. While you're using Remix, you're also getting to know web standards if you have a basic idea of web standards. So Remix has its own form, and it uses native methods like post, put, delete, patch to handle from, instead of using JavaScript for that, and to keep the user on the spa-like experience without reloading the page. So that's, instead of just the native form in HTML, they have their form, so you don't have to deal with this, reloading or prevent default that you have to do. So it's built in a form. Next would be server-side dynamic content. So Remix provides two different types of functions to create server-side dynamic content. I will demo this later, you'll see. So in the meantime, we're just going to do these slides. So the loader functions are used to handle get HTTP requests in the server, mainly used to get, of course, data, JSON response from different resources. And then the action functions monitor post, put, delete, those mutations, and then patch requests, focus on, again, manipulation or mutation. So it looks like that. And another one, of course, no more loading spinners. So if you're in SPA, using SPA means that you have to wait for the server to load the data, right? In the meantime, you have to do that. You need to notify your users by giving them this spinner or loader, right? But here with SSR, you get the fully interactive without having this loading UI, because you have that data in instant. And what about integration? So in integrations, working with databases has never been easier. So with Prisma plus SQLite for local development, or Supabase for fast PostgreSQL product, then Vercel for hosting. So and other platform and databases that you can use. Another feature would be remix tags. For your sample projects or boilerplates that you want, they have these 4 different stacks where you can use with blog, sample content you can use. And this is good because now you have a guide on how to put your files and folders in order, or so you don't get confused. And these features are just tip of the iceberg, and there's more about, but unfortunately we don't have lots of time. So we're gonna move here because this is two recommended way of learning React now in React docs. And you can see if you go to React documentation, they're recommending to use Next.js and Remix. So we're going to define the difference here and similarities. So they're both React based. So Remix, community members have been working on different implementations using other frameworks like Vue.js, Angular, and Svelte. That's for Remix. So you have those already in the making. And Next.js depends only in React for now, and there's no plan to change that at this moment. About server-side rendering, so both Remix and Next.js offer SSR to generate the markup and content of our pages from the web server before sending it to the client. And here Next.js offers the possibility of pre-generating static pages and content at build time using SSG or static site generation, while Remix doesn't have that feature, by the way. So no SSG in Remix. yeah, it's stale while revalidate. So to serve content as fast as possible, Remix relies on stale while revalidate caching directive. Next.js also offers the possibility of working with stale while revalidate. So inside the get server side props function. Another one, so prefetching of all assets for a page to enable an instant navigation. It looks like this in Remix, Next.js, using the link. Okay. What about Edge native? If you want to deploy web apps, so Edge, it's if you don't know Edge, Edge is like CDN, but instead of just static files, you can use your dynamic web apps to deploy in different parts of the world. So that's Edge. It's gonna be faster because the processing doesn't have to go to the center server. You have server all over the world, and your data get processed in the nearest location of the user. What about unhandled errors? So let's see an example of unhandled errors here. So here is Next.js. Nothing happens, and this is a default user experience here. And here is Remix. Remix handles every error around data and rendering in your app, even errors on the server. As you can see here, unknown error occurred. What about interruptions? Let's go interruptions. So Next.js doesn't manage race conditions, interruptions, or revalidation. So the UI is now possibly out of sync with the server. Whereas here's Remix. You can see Remix cancels the request on interruptions and revalidates the data after the post completes. So this is important because this ensures that the UI across the entire page, not just the form, is in sync with whatever changes your form just made with the server. So what about getting started? So it's pretty much it's easy. So npx create remix at latest. So there are templates here. I'll describe what these are. So you have these blues, indie, and grunge. So the blue stack deploys to Fly. It has authentication in Cypress. Tailwind supports Postgre and has local database running in Docker there. The indie stack is very similar to Blues. Instead of Postgre, it uses SQLite and no Docker. And then the grunge uses DynamoDB as persistent layer and deploys to AWS. So I guess it's time for demo. So much slides. Let's go to the code. The stock is cheap. Show me the code. So I'm gonna do some mirroring here. Okay, so this is the web app. Let's move it here. So Remix scaffold gonna give you like this with Prisma, etc. with E2E testing Cypress. Here's pretty much, and also Remix supports Tailwind CSS out of the box. So first of all, I'd like you to see the root TSX here, and you would see this link function. So it defines link elements to add to the page when the user visits the route, and you can declare here style sheet. For example, these toast styles that commonly used in React world and React ecosystem, right? That's first example. href your style sheet. It is this. So that's for the Tailwind. You have that one links, and any links that you want to include, you're gonna put it here. And meta. So meta is, an expert will set meta tags for your HTML document, and this is also important for SEO. You can of course do dynamically here. And the outlet, if you're familiar with outlet in React router, if you're a React developer, you would be sure you know this, how this thing works. And basically in Spot, that's what uh, changes the UI, right, in the browser. It's just your pages rotates in this outlet. And the error boundary is here. You have this error. Now it's up to you what to put there. You can very specific based on the page. Error message, there was an error. You can do this. Well, this is the default. I'm just showing you this is the default that you'll get out of the box from the boilerplate. And yeah, you have to change it accordingly to the page and link safety. Got back to home page. And the difference between error boundary and there's another one, catch boundary, is that in catch boundary you can use the status code. If you have a particular status code that you want to catch, you have this switch case here, status case 401. Says here like you try to visit a page that you do not have access. 404, you try to visit a page that does not exist. That's how you do it, right? Or just go with the 503 and then or default, throw new error. Basically very simple to use error boundary and catch boundary. Let's go to the next important files here. So maybe the routes. So now I'm dividing it to two. So you can see here I have the main routes and the dashboard, because normally we built web applications where users can just visit other pages, but it has to be authenticated, going to the dashboard, editing things, seeing some things. So in main page, very simple. You have this navigation, right? Your navigation component. Oh, you can just hover it here. And then the outlet, whereas in dashboard, it's a bit complex. I have my specific catch boundary there, so you can see error boundary also, dashboard error. So again, I'm being very specific here for this page, setting my own error boundary and outlet. But I'm too lazy to create my sidebar. But you get the drift here, that this is adding CSS and then adding side menus here, and then now you have this outlet, which again that would be for the pages inside that revolves it inside the dashboard. For example, I have profile and settings, just a few, just to test it, right? So that's will be under the dashboard. But don't be afraid with this double underscore. That will not be visible in the URL. So main, you have heroes here, which is I'm going to show you later. Parent one, which I think I showed you earlier in the slides, that you can do this nested, right? And this Pokemon. So what is this Pokemon? So, and I need internet. I forgot. Okay. There you go. So I have console logs here. It says client. So let's check it out first. Pokemon. I think I have more time. The V1. So here we're using use effect. So meaning we're doing this fetch in the client side, right? This is just a first example. We're doing it in client side. So as you can see, it's all React here. Just simple like client side sending HTTP requests. On the second Pokemon version 2, so I still have this console log just to show you that it's happening in the client side in the browser. So here we have this loader, which is a reserved keyword in Remix, and you have to export this. So what is this is your backend code that runs before the server side. So what's happening here is this could be your ORM, by the way. It doesn't have to be an HTTP client again. Um, I'm gonna show you later the Prisma as an ORM that I'm gonna use it here, but for this comparison of sending requests from the browser and then sending requests from the back end, here basically we can disable JavaScript and still get this data, which is I'm going to show you later. And again, you have to export this. And this loader, in order to get what this Poke API is returning, so basically we're returning it JSON, right? You have this use loader data, which is a React hook, a custom React hook, and then sorry, it's not a custom React hook, which is use loader a React hook coming from Remix run, and that actually is the data coming from this. Hovering it. So I'm going to give you another difference between Next.js 13, the latest Next.js, by the way, the app directory, which is already in stable version. The difference between Next.js 13 and Remix, in Next.js 13, you get inference, TypeScript inference, that you don't need to write an interface and, you know, add it here. Like this could be poke something, or monsters, or I don't know. They're not monsters, right? I shouldn't say it. Pokemons, yeah. Pokemon would be, yeah, or an array of Pokemon. So yeah, in again in Next.js, you can have this type inference, which is really nice. But anyways, let's move to the browser and just to see. So this is client side. Let's try disabling JavaScript. You see, since this is sending requests from the browser, you don't get it. But as soon as you're in, but still JavaScript is disabled, right? Because how it's happening, it's sending requests from the backend, and then after processing it, you have this HTML, the components being rendered now in the UI. So even if you disable JavaScript, it's still gonna work. So now we're going to enable it. So that's the comparison between client and backend, just to give you some basic there. So heroes here, gonna move heroes. So for the heroes, you still have this loader and HTTP request, and you can do this filtering. I would highly suggest to do this filtering and manipulation of data and not do it in the front end. You know, so you get this really good performance than doing array manipulation in the front end. So as you can see here, we're just adding some filter just to get Marvel, not DC, in here. But if you look at the data, so this is just JSON server. If I can see here, yeah, we have DC, Marvel, DC. So yeah, just sample of changing something before giving it to the client side. Another example to do. So this time we're gonna deal with forms. So if you're a developer ever since like 20 years ago using PHP, you will notice this is kind of similar back in the old days, which is I think this is it. We will be using method post and the form and some action, as you can see. So the way it works in form, so in Remix, you're not gonna use those normal events that you're using in React, in Vue, or in Angular, which starts an on in React. So if you notice here, there's no on, no on, right? You don't have to do that, but you still get this HTTP requests, sending get requests and post requests. And how it works is, for example, you have form here, method post, right? And these are necessary here: ID, name, type, text, right? And in the button here, we have this type submit. Of course, we need that. The name, we're gonna do that later. Name would be underscore action, and the value would be create. So now, why do we have this? Which is, if you're not used to it, what is this for? This is to create this conditions where did we hit or did the user click create or delete. So value. So we're going to use that in this switch else statement. Going here just to see user action. So again, action is a reserved keyword. Export, you have to do that. And we have some typings here. Action function. So request form data, I'm just going to do object form from entries to do data here. Well, actually it's just this create or delete to check. Nope, let's go. Just to check all the way here. Yes, there you go. So action. So what is the action here? So action, title, and ID. Switch, if action is create. Now we have this ORM here, but first schema, and then checking. So just for validating the request, validating the request, and the ORM, which you do mutation, create, db to do create data. So we're doing this, returning the value, and a catch here for any errors. So that's one for the create. What about for the delete? So you can see we have another case for delete because we have two buttons here. One is for creating the to do and one is for deleting, right? Delete. So we have this invariant, another validation, ORM, where ID is the one that we're sending, and it's going to be deleted, which is, we can do it here. Create. Here speak, and then deleting it. It's now deleted. So again, no on click. We're doing this switch conditions just to see if what the user is sending, whether it's a create type or a delete type. This is very it could be very new for some audience here, and could be also like talking to yourself like this is what we used to do back in PHP, right? What else? I guess that's the gist of everything in Remix. Mental model is different. Again, you're basically not using JavaScript per se in the browser, those events, but you're using the forms and the web standard, which is, you know, post, get, delete, and put through the form, and adding this input with name, type. So another thing that I'm going to show you is, yes, this one you can do this. So what is this? Input, type, you know, hidden name, ID, values. And why would you hide this input? Right? So we have to do this, right? Because we're inside the form, and in order to get the ID of this, since we're not using the much code in the client side, we have to track which is the ID of this object here, basically. And to get that, we need to show this, but we have to add it here with the name, ID, and the value to do and the ID. But of course, you have to hide it. Otherwise, it will just be there in the form, which is not really usable for user. But this is how you would do it. So yeah, basically that's the demo of it. Um, Another one for the dashboard settings, and then the profile. Last one would be getting some error. uh, Setting works. Yeah, another error boundary in the dashboard. So this is what I showed you earlier. Then back to safety. So uh, going now, you separate display. So we're done with the demo. So what about security? Yeah, you can use remix auth form or remix auth 0. These two libraries, you can use that. So remix auth strategy to work with any form, and then the auth 0 strategy is to use the used to authenticate users against an auth 0 account, which is extends on in auth 2 strategy. The docs will be here in remix run /docs, and this sample code is this github.com by Master Devlin remix run demo. And again, here last year remix has been acquired by Shopify, which is very popular e-commerce site. So remix will not be used in will be used in 2 million e-commerce sites across the globe. uh, Remix version 2. So Remix is working on Remix version 2 now. They're doing this a little bit differently than other, major versions that you might have used in the past. So the cool thing about Remix version 2 is you can actually use it today, because the way they're doing it is they're shipping a bunch of feature flags in Remix version 1 that let you opt into to all of the features that are going to be in Remix version 2 through this remix.config.js. And this is just an example of it. v2 error boundary, set to true, and there's a bunch of that. So thank you very much for listening. Achoo.